Howdy, y'all. This is David on the Colorado Trail. This is day 6, and I'm heading down into Breckenridge. But I wanted to first do a recap of yesterday, day 5. So day 5 had some big climbs. We were going over Georgia Pass, and it's pretty windy. I think the audio on this is gonna suck, and that's a dangerous step. So big climbs to get over Georgia Pass, and then also another kind of big climb behind it. And this was up to 11,800 feet, I think, for Georgia Pass. And so it was tricky because there's a section where I think maybe 8 miles or so or more with no water. And also we were thinking it was exposed, and so that would be tricky because of thunderstorms in the afternoon, and of course we were going to be in the exposed part in the afternoon. Of course the Georgia Pass is exposed, but that was going to be earlier in the day. But this second hill in the area with no water, that was we were thinking that was going to be exposed. And when I say we, I think I'm talking about the folks I was camping with, Mirta and Anthony, at Dead Man's Creek. So it was going to be kind of like I looked at it, and it's going to be either like a 15-mile day and then a longer day into Breckenridge. I forget how long, 12 to 15, I think. Or go over it all the way to the other water source, which is 21 miles, which would have been a really long day with those big climbs. So I was just going to kind of get to the 15, whatever mile mark and see how I felt and see what the weather looked like and make the decision then. So got started going up Georgia Pass. It was actually nice. It was cool. It was overcast. So unfortunately not beautiful pictures necessarily, but it was very nice. However, at the top of Georgia Pass, very shortly afterwards, we ran into the Breck Epic, one of the races, which is a big mountain biking race, like 3 or 6 days worth of biking all over on the Colorado Trail. And in this case, when we intersected with them, they came up a road, and then we're going down the Colorado Trail the same way we were going. And the leaders had already gone through, but still some fast people were coming. And then it was a big pack. And I heard something like 300 riders or 500 riders, but it was a lot. And so they were just, as we headed down, Mirta had caught up with me. I actually had gotten up early to try to beat storms and maybe do the long day. And so I'd left before everybody. There's more story there, actually. I'll get back to that. But unfortunately, what am I trying to say? Oh, yeah. So, we were just passed by cyclist after mountain biker having to get off the trail, and that got really old. Speaking of which, I'm having to get past my one now. Howdy. Okay, thanks. So it was this. Perfect timing. All day yesterday. And so here comes the cyclist. So, maybe not all day, but for a good portion of it. Hey.
Oh, sorry, I'm not doing anything cool.
No. I was just talking about how all the race yesterday and getting past. So, but anyway, so let's see, where was I? Oh, yeah. So that was a pain and really slowed me down and us down. But I tried to roll with it, and I tried to cheer them on. They were all very, very polite. They all said, they gave you a heads up they were coming, and they all said thank you and thank you for sharing the trail and stuff like that. So it was good. They know that, it's pretty annoying for the hikers. So that was nice. Oh wow, this is a really nice vista here. Not so much that way, but over here, this is nice. it's interesting. You walk through the trees so much, you don't get as many of these big vistas. And of course, when you go over the passes, you do. And looks like the thunderstorms are starting to build. Maybe a little early today. Okay, so cyclists. But yeah, let me go back to. Oh gosh, this wind is probably going to ruin the audio on this. Hopefully, it's legible or audible. So when I left early, it was a real pain trying to pack up and be real quiet. I asked them both, because I ran into them later, so I hope I didn't disturb you. And they said, nope, slept through it. So either they're just being nice or they really did, because I was trying to be really quiet. So I got on the trail right around daybreak. It's like around 6, maybe a little earlier. No, it was probably 6. And fortunately, there was a pit toilet about 1.5 miles, 2 miles down the trail, which is such a luxury. And it had toilet paper and a trash can. I mean, it doesn't take much to please a thru hiker. So I was very happy about that. I went ahead and had my breakfast at that point. I like to do a Carnation instant breakfast in the morning, and then usually one of the complete cookies. And so I think I'd already been chewing on the cookie, but no, I think I waited till then too. And also kind of like repacked my stuff, because in order to be quiet, I kind of did the minimal set of shuffling around and packing and everything as possible. Plus everything was wet because we did get rain, a thunderstorm that night. So that wasn't great, but it happens. It's what you got to deal with. So anyway, coming out of the pit toilet, it was down a little bit of a road off the trail, and I went back the trail the way I came. And I was like, oh man, I am so glad, because at that point, I went maybe 10 minutes, and Anthony, one of the guys that we were camping with, he came down the trail, and he's like, did you forget something? And at first I didn't recognize him, because he had his hood up and his hat on. He looked a little different. And then I was like, oh, okay, no, and I guess I'm going the wrong way. So thank goodness I ran into him. And he said, yeah, he's done that before. He always checks far out to see where to go from, every time he gets back on trail, make sure he's going the right way. So now I'm doing that. Although, yesterday, so after we got down the big descent from the passes, but before the second ascent, there's a river down there, and nice little stop. But anyway, you're on a road for a little bit, and then the trail comes off of that. Well, unfortunately, I missed the turnoff, and I think it was because there was this really beautiful meadow, these gorgeous ponds, and like beaver ponds, I guess, and just really lush and really beautiful. And so I was looking at pictures, and there'll be a better spot this way, and I think I just completely missed the turnoff. So I kept walking down the road, and I finally got to one of the aid stations for the bike race. And so I'm walking by, and this woman comes up to me, and she's like, hey, do you want any snacks or water or anything? The race is about to wrap up. We've got a lot of left over coming over. But it was kind of across this river, shallow water crossing. And I didn't really want to get my feet wet, and there were logs there that you could cross, but it was a little sketchy. I mean, it was pretty wide. There were like 2 or 3 sets of logs you had to cross. And I would have my backpack on and everything. So she's like, oh, okay, I've been walking through this all day. I'll just walk next to you. And if you need me, you can put your hand on my shoulder, and I'll kind of escort you across. And then when you're ready to go, I'll do it again. So she was just so nice. So I think it was Joanna. Thank you very much. If you ever see this, you were super nice, and I really appreciate the help. So I got a Coke and some peanut butter squares, or peanut butter and jelly squares, sandwiches. And that was it, because I really had I should have taken them up on grabbing some bars and stuff like that. I think they had those. But there was still a few racers coming through, so I felt a little weird. But I also get to sit down in a nice comfy lawn chair again. So that was nice. Yeah, I got to sit in one at Kenosha Pass at the campground with Smurf. And it is nice to just sit down, you know. Doing a terrible job filming here. Let's see. Okay, so after that, she actually was trying to help too. Like, oh, there's different ways you could go down this road and just go straight to town. You could go back this way and then go over here and get on the trail there. But I just decided it was probably about a half a mile to hike back and get on the trail where I missed the turn. So that wasn't too bad. So I hiked a few more miles to another part of the Swan Lake River. I guess it kind of wanders around. And that was where one of the last water sources before, far away, like 8 miles, I think. And so I was kind of really deciding, all right, what do I want to do? And so one thing I thought, and I also checked the weather, and it looked like there might be some thunderstorms, but we've had thunderstorm forecasts every afternoon, and so far not really gotten hit. So I'm sure it'll happen, and I half expected it to, but I was kind of willing to take the risk. And I also thought about I could do dry camping, because the 21 miles was to the next water source after the really long trek, and but if you just take some extra water, then you can just camp in between. And so I did that. I decided, well, it looks like the top of this ridge would be good, and distance-wise, and put me with not too bad 10.5 miles into Breckenridge. All right, so hold on, I'm trying to swap hands, and okay, using wired headphones or earbuds is a pain, but they're lighter, use less battery power, so that's why I'm going old school with those. So anyway, so I could do a dry camping. It would be up on the top of the ridge, which is a little risky, but it wasn't quite on the top. It was actually down the side, and I checked the satellite imagery, and we were completely wrong thinking it was all exposed. It was actually treed, covered with trees the whole way, and there were a few open spots, but nothing bad at all. And so I felt like as I hiked up, it was kind of along the ridge, not at the top, but along the ridge. And if anything, if a storm blew through, I could just duck down lower down in the trees, and I should be safe. So with that decision, I decided to push for that. And I wanted to try to get there before the thunderstorm. And it was about 4, a little after. And like I said, it was supposed to be, 6 to 8 was when the storm was forecast for. So I thought I can make that. It was about 4 miles. And if I push, and it was all uphill, but I knew I could make that. And if I wasn't too tired already. Because it had been, I guess, 13 miles. Or maybe it was only 2 or 3 miles. I forget. Maybe it was 3 miles. And it must have been so I was probably around 12 miles at that point. Anyway, details. So I pushed up the hill, got rained on, but no lightning. There was a little thunder around, but it was not very close. And so that's also a nice vista. If I can straighten it up. I'm not sure what I'm looking at, but got there probably right around 5:30 actually. So I made good time. Got everything set up, made dinner, and settled in. And I found a reasonable campsite up there. I felt like it was pretty safe from a thunderstorm or anything. And the only point is, like always, dead trees. Always. I tried to find a spot that was, least exposed to something falling over. But it's really tough. So that was yesterday. It did rain overnight, so I just stopped and dried everything off. Anyway, till the next time. Bye.